Gentlemen, what if I told you that something as simple as your morning masturbation routine could be silently weakening your erections, exhausting your energy, and even accelerating prostate problems without you ever realizing it? I've treated thousands of older men who felt confused, frustrated, and ashamed about their declining sexual health, never once suspecting that the way they touched themselves each morning was quietly working against their own body. I'm Dr. Rena, a board-certified urologist with over 30 years of experience in men's health. I've seen firsthand how misunderstood habits, especially those done first thing in the morning, can quietly damage blood flow, hormone balance, and emotional well-being, not because men are doing anything wrong, but because no one ever told them the truth. You see, while some experts praise self-pleasure as healthy, and it can be, the timing, method, and mindset matter far more than most realize. That's the paradox. What's supposed to be relaxing might actually be depleting you. In today's video, I'm going to reveal 4 dangerous masturbation mistakes older men often make in the morning. Mistakes that drain testosterone, hurt the prostate, and weaken circulation with every repetition. And more importantly, I'll show you exactly how to turn things around. One of these mistakes is so common, I'd say nearly 80% of older men are doing it. Yet it's one of the biggest reasons they struggle with performance, intimacy, and confidence. You need to hear this before tomorrow morning. Before we dive in, if you care about protecting your sexual health as you age, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss another life-changing tip made specifically for men over 60. And if this video speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If it doesn't, type 0 and let me know how I can better serve you. So let's get right into it. Starting with the first and perhaps most overlooked mistake, masturbating immediately after waking up, before your body is even ready. It might seem harmless, even like a healthy way to start the day, but for older men, this one habit can quietly throw your entire system out of balance. Mistake 1, masturbating. First thing in the morning, before rehydration or movement. Let me tell you about a patient of mine. His name was Alan. He was 68 years old, sharp-minded, retired, and doing all the right things. Eating well, walking daily, even practicing meditation. But for months, he kept coming back to my office with the same frustrating complaints. Weak erections, morning fatigue, a loss of drive he couldn't explain, and worst of all, an overwhelming sense that his masculinity was fading, slowly, quietly, and without warning. One day, after we ran every test in the book and ruled out serious issues, I asked him a simple question. Alan, walk me through your morning routine. Be honest. What's the first thing you do when you wake up? He paused, a little embarrassed, then said, Well, Doc, I usually reach for my phone, scroll a bit, and I usually take care of myself. You know, it's how I start the day. What Alan didn't know, and what most men don't, is that masturbating first thing in the morning before your body has fully woken up is one of the most damaging habits you can have after 60. I say this not to shame you, but to protect you. Because this one small choice has a ripple effect on your hormones, your circulation, and even your long-term prostate health. Here's why it matters so much. During the night, your body becomes mildly dehydrated. You lose water through breathing and sweating. That means your blood becomes slightly thicker, your circulation is slower, and your tissues, especially in the pelvic region, aren't as oxygenated or elastic as they should be. On top of that, your nervous system is still transitioning from rest mode into alert mode. The sympathetic nervous system, the one that controls sexual arousal, is still sluggish. When you stimulate yourself in this cold, unready state, you force your body to perform before it's physiologically prepared. That can lead to several problems. First, weaker erections. Not because you're incapable, but because the blood flow just isn't there yet. Second, premature ejaculation or lower intensity climax, which leaves you feeling more drained than satisfied. Third, and this is crucial, it places unnecessary strain on the prostate, which is still in a relaxed state from the night. Repeated strain over time can contribute to inflammation, discomfort, and even long-term prostate complications. And finally, the sudden release of dopamine, followed by a crash, can leave you mentally foggy, tired, and emotionally flat for the rest of the morning. Alan's story isn't unique. I've seen this pattern over and over. Men with the best intentions, unknowingly sabotaging their vitality. The worst part? They blame themselves. They think it's age, but more often than not, it's just poor timing and a lack of understanding about how their body works after 60. So, what should you do instead? Give your body a chance to wake up, drink a full glass of water, move a little, stretch, breathe. Let your blood flow naturally improve. And if you choose to engage in self-pleasure, do it mindfully, with your body fully awake and prepared. You'll not only feel better afterward, you'll actually protect your energy, strengthen your erections, and support long-term sexual health. Now, if that sounds like a simple fix, good, because it is. But the next mistake is harder to admit, because it's not physical, it's mental, and it's one that rewires your brain in ways that are far more damaging than most men ever realize. It's the kind of mistake that doesn't just affect your mornings. It affects your relationships, your motivation, and even your ability to feel real intimacy. Let's talk about it. If you're still here and these insights are resonating with you, just type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. Your engagement means a lot. Now, let's move on to the second mistake, one that's quietly rewiring the male brain every morning. Mistake 2, using porn or fantasy that disconnects you from reality. There is something deeply personal I want to share with you. Something I've never put in a textbook or a research paper, but I've learned it the hard way through decades of talking to real men. See, one of the quietest destroyers of sexual vitality, confidence, and connection in older men isn't just physical, it's psychological. And it often begins the moment you open your eyes and reach for your phone. A man I worked with, let's call him Peter, was 72 years old, recently widowed and struggling with loneliness. Each morning, he'd wake up, feel that familiar urge, and turn to the only thing that felt immediate and stimulating: online pornography. It became a habit, something to feel alive, something to fill the silence. But over time, he noticed something else creeping in. It became harder to feel aroused in real life. He couldn't respond to simple touch the way he used to. Even his memories of intimacy with his late wife began to feel flat, distant, like they belonged to someone else. What Peter didn't realize, and what most older men don't realize, is that turning to porn or fantasy first thing in the morning wires your brain for artificial stimulation when your mind is at its most impressionable. In those early morning minutes, your brain is still transitioning from dream state to consciousness. It's wide open, like a sponge. And what you feed it in that window affects not just your mood, but your biology, your sexual response, and your emotions for the entire day. Here's the dangerous part. Porn floods the brain with intense visual novelty and quick gratification. In the short term, it feels stimulating, but over time, it rewires your dopamine receptors to only respond to fast, high-intensity, unrealistic sexual triggers. Your brain stops responding to the natural, slower build of real arousal, especially the kind that comes from emotional connection or physical intimacy with another person. That means even if you're in a loving relationship or trying to date again, your body may not respond. Your mind may wander. You may start feeling broken, but you're not. You've just conditioned your brain to expect something it was never designed for. And when this habit happens in the morning, when your body's hormone levels, especially testosterone, are trying to establish a natural rhythm, you override that balance. You spike dopamine, crash later, and often spend the rest of the day feeling emotionally dull, mentally foggy, or even ashamed. Some men tell me they feel regret before they even get out of bed. That's not how a man should begin his day, not at 20, and certainly not at 60 or 70. I want to make something clear. Self-pleasure isn't the enemy. It can be grounding, calming, even healing, but only if it's rooted in presence, not distraction. When you use porn or unrealistic fantasy first thing in the morning, you disconnect from your real body, your real heart, and the real experiences that give life meaning. You trade connection for isolation. You trade natural rhythm for artificial stimulation. And eventually, it takes a toll on your performance, your confidence, your sense of manhood. When I helped Peter cut back slowly, just 7 days without morning porn, he told me something that stuck with me. He said, I started seeing colors again. What he meant was, life felt richer, more alive, more grounded. His mind wasn't hijacked by artificial stimulation. And slowly, his natural sexual response started returning. That's what I want for every man watching this. But as powerful as the brain is, it's not the only system being affected each morning. Your body, your physical, sexual machinery, has its own needs. And when you overstimulate it without allowing time for recovery, the consequences can be more serious than you think. Let me show you the third mistake, one that hits older men right where it hurts most. Mistake 3, overstimulating the prostate and pelvic floor without recovery. There's something I need to say that most doctors don't talk about, not because it isn't important, but because it's uncomfortable. But I believe you deserve honesty, even when it's a little hard to hear. And here it is. Many older men are putting too much pressure on their pelvic floor and prostate every single morning, without giving their body the chance to recover, and it's doing real damage. I'll never forget a man named James, 74 years old, who came into my office complaining of pelvic discomfort, a feeling of fullness in the lower abdomen, and a need to urinate far too often, especially at night. He was sharp, active, and deeply frustrated. We ruled out infections, enlarged prostate, even bladder issues. Nothing explained his symptoms until we started talking about his daily habits. Like many men, James had a quiet morning ritual he never thought twice about. He'd wake up, stay in bed, and stimulate himself, sometimes to climax, sometimes not. It was his private way of feeling alive. He told me, "It's just a few minutes in the morning, doc, helps me feel like myself." But what he didn't realize was that his morning habit was overstimulating his prostate and tightening his pelvic floor without any chance for those delicate muscles and tissues to recover. Here's what I've seen again and again. As men age, the tissues around the prostate become more sensitive, more reactive, and more prone to inflammation. The pelvic floor muscles, which support bladder control, erections, and ejaculation, tend to hold more tension. When you apply frequent, focused pressure to that region, especially in the morning when blood flow is still slow and your muscles haven't warmed up, it's like lifting weights on a cold joint. The strain adds up, the tension builds, and over time, that can create a cascade of issues. Urinary urgency, weaker flow, prostate sensitivity, and in some cases, chronic pelvic pain that lingers for hours, even days. Most men don't connect the dots because the effects are subtle at first. Maybe a little discomfort, maybe feeling more drained than usual after climax, maybe noticing it's harder to relax the lower belly, or that it takes longer to recover. But make no mistake, this kind of constant pressure wears down the system, and the morning is the worst time to do it. When your body hasn't yet moved, stretched, or fully hydrated, those tissues are vulnerable. They need support, not strain. When I explained this to James, he was stunned. No one had ever told him this before, not in a health class, not in a doctor's office, not even in the endless health articles online. But once he understood, he made a simple change. He gave himself a day of rest between sessions. He started walking in the morning instead of lying still. He added gentle breathing and hip stretches. And after just a few weeks, the symptoms that had haunted him for months began to ease. You see, your body was never meant to be on constant demand. Especially not the systems responsible for your deepest masculine energy. They need recovery, they need rhythm, and above all, they need respect. This isn't about stopping pleasure, it's about creating a better relationship with it, one that keeps you healthy, vibrant, and in control. Because when you treat your prostate and pelvic floor with care, they reward you with strength, confidence, and clarity. Now, if what we've talked about so far has opened your eyes, just wait until you hear the next mistake, because it's not just about what your body is doing, it's about how quickly you're doing it. And the cost of rushing it might be more serious than you think. Let's talk about it. If you're still watching and finding this valuable, type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you're still here and paying attention. Now, let's keep going. This next mistake, number 4, is one that silently robs many men of their energy before the day even begins. Mistake 4. Ejaculating too quickly without full arousal or mental readiness. There's a quiet frustration I hear from older men all the time, but they rarely admit it out loud. It's not about desire, it's not about performance. It's about something much more personal. They say things like, "It just happens too fast now," or "I don't feel satisfied afterward." And usually the pattern is the same. It happens in the morning, it happens quickly, and afterward, instead of feeling energized or centered, they feel drained, disconnected, even a little empty. I had a patient, Michael, 66 years old, who described it best. He said, "Doc, it's like I'm chasing a release I don't even enjoy anymore. It's over before it even starts." And when I asked him when this usually happened, he looked down and said, "Every morning, before breakfast, before anything else. It's the first thing I do." That's when I knew exactly what was going on. When you're younger, your body can bounce back easily, but after 60, every system moves more deliberately. Your heart, your hormones, even your recovery. When you stimulate yourself in the morning without allowing your body to fully awaken, and then climax before you've built real arousal or engaged your mind, you create a chemical crash that can follow you for the rest of the day. Ejaculation isn't just a physical release, it's a neurochemical event. It involves a sharp spike in dopamine and oxytocin, followed by a drop in energy. If the experience is rushed, if your mind isn't present and your body hasn't fully engaged, you don't get the benefits. You just get the crash. And in the morning, when testosterone levels are already starting to shift and your body is trying to establish balance, that crash hits even harder. Many men report fatigue, lack of focus, irritability, or just a sense of being off for hours after. This pattern conditions the brain and body to expect less satisfaction from arousal. You train your system to rush through one of the most intimate, powerful processes your body has to offer. And the worst part is, it becomes habit. Over time, you stop even expecting more from yourself. You just go through the motions. Fast, numb, forgettable. That's not real pleasure. That's just repetition. When I worked with Michael, I asked him to change one simple thing. I asked him to slow down, to breathe, to check in with his body. Was he actually aroused? Was he fully awake? Or was he just reacting out of boredom or habit? I asked him to delay climax, to explore the experience rather than escape into it. It wasn't easy at first, but after a few weeks, he noticed something unexpected. His energy during the day improved. His focus returned, and most surprising of all, he started to feel a sense of control again. This isn't about perfection, it's about presence. About giving your body and your mind the time they need to align before engaging in something as intimate and meaningful as self-pleasure. Especially in the morning, when your systems are most vulnerable and your choices set the tone for the rest of your day. The truth is, morning routines have power. They can either weaken you or strengthen you. And the difference often comes down to awareness. When you slow down, when you listen, when you treat pleasure as something sacred, not rushed, you start to reconnect with the deepest parts of yourself. Now, if you've made it this far, you're already ahead of most men your age. But there's one final thing I want to leave you with. A message not just about mistakes, but about what's possible when you finally start treating your sexual health with the care, intention, and wisdom it deserves. Let's bring it all together. Conclusion. If you've stayed with me this far, I want to thank you. Not just for watching, but for caring about your health in a way most men never do. We've covered 4 silent but dangerous mistakes older men often make during morning masturbation. From overstimulating a cold, unprepared body, to relying on porn that disconnects you from real life, to straining your prostate without rest, and rushing toward release before you're even fully awake or present. These aren't just habits, they're signals. Signals that your body is asking for more care, more awareness, and more respect. You're not broken, you're not too old, but you are responsible. And the good news is, every one of these mistakes can be reversed. Starting today, you have the power to rewire your mornings into something that builds strength, not weakness. Connection, not emptiness. Vitality, not depletion. I've spent my life helping men reclaim what they thought was lost. And if no one's told you this in a while, let me say it now. Your health, your pleasure, your life still matter, and they always will. If this message spoke to you, I'd be grateful if you gave it a like, shared it with another man who might need to hear it, and left a comment below to let me know what stood out to you most. Your story, your questions, they matter. Let's keep this conversation going.